spending time today with me on my session about top DevSecOps interview questions level 2, the 8-bit game. I'm really happy that we can share together some interesting insights in the interviews that I absolved in the past, maybe I will absolve in the future, and I just want to share them, or I want to share the insights with you to know more about the interviews. And let's go and let's deep dive to our scary game. And I hope that we all will end up our suffering, and I hope that it will help everybody. So let's go together forward and we move to the questions. I want to say that today we'll talk more about the open questions and about the questions that are more about the way how you think, how you approach the problem, and how you basically solve specific security situations and how you behave in the collective. And I will also give you the tips how you can evaluate your interviewer, because he is not your enemy. If you will use some negotiation techniques like mirroring or some language programming, you are able to know who is your interviewer. He's your friend and he is not your enemy, and you can get the interview on your side, and he will help you to pass the interview, because he wants you, he's looking for the people to have them in the team, and you are looking for the new job. So let's go. We are where we ended the last round and last interview. So this is level 2, and our hero continues in the journey. I see that there's some winter, and maybe it's related because Christmas are close. So I try to make it more winter level this time, and I hope that we will have lots of fun. This skeleton looks scary, and we'll try to overcome it with our questions. So, and based on the request of all my friends, we have new ability, and it is Fireball. So let's play the Fireball and overcome the first interview, because we already completed the basic questions. Now it's time for the medium ones. So the open questions: when you broke up something, the problem is not what you broke last time, but how you solve it. So this question is not designed to say that you are weak because you broke something. The question is to know how you approach to the things that you broke and how you solve them, with who you communicate that, who helped you. That's very important. And basically, if you will turn it and decide how you solve the problem instead of what you broke last time, this will be really helpful for you. Next question, and it's very common, is what is the last vulnerability that you encountered in the news? Or what is the last buffer overflow? And do you remember Heartbleed? And all of these things are scary questions for me, because I'm not able to watch all the news. I'm not able, and I think that you are not able also to watch all the vulnerabilities in the world. But the question is designed to know if you are up to date, and if you are watching some cybersecurity news, and if you are trying to catch up the news and you are not living in the past. That's not just it. And next open question is: what is your favorite DevSecOps tool? That's a catch. And on my side, if I will ask you for that, I'll ask you, what is your favorite DevSecOps tool, and how you will put it in the Docker container? And if you have Docker container, how we will put it in CI/CD of your selection. And this will evaluate the way what you think. How you build the image, if you want to have your own image, or if you will use Docker Hub to pull the image from it. So that's the thing which will evaluate your way or your approach to the problem solutioning. And the last question is how you will design, for example, the audit security proposal for AWS, for GCP, for Azure, or for the DevSecOps. If you know the DevSecOps maturity model, or they can ask you, please design for me the pen test proposal. And one of the jobs that I get in the past, part of the interview, 1 hour, was discussion about how I will sell and how I will design the proposal for the penetration test for the specific topic. It was an interesting exercise for me. Do not forget about the liability, about the deliverables, about the scope, about the things which are not related to anything technical, because there is lots and lots of things which are part of pen testing, but they are not related to technology. Now we are in the next step of our level. We overcome first skeleton, but that's not the end. That's just the beginning. We have these skeletons here, and the tools are also on the medium level of questions. If you will think about the medium level questions, you need to think about the tools. They can ask you for Docker, Kubernetes, Istio, AWS tools, GCP tools, whenever. Yeah, I like more to have technology independent questions, but in the last time I told you it's a game. They like to play the game. The interviews are biased, and you need to learn how to go through these obstacles, how to overcome this castle of problems and get inside of it. So Nmap, almost on every interview, on auditor, risk manager, pen tester, DevSecOps, architect, whatever position you want, they ask for SYN scan. They ask for the OS scan, what is the difference between TCP, UDP scan, and how you will execute it. And they can ask you for zombie scan, idle scan, Christmas scan, my favorite one. You need to understand the TCP flags from beginning to the end. And then you need to understand what is happening in these scans. If they want to test you more in detail, they will ask you, for example, for what is happening in this kind of scan, what is happening with the PID, which is packet ID, how it changed and what Nmap does with that. And the advanced level can be also what is Nmap scripting engine and what is your favorite script that you use in Nmap scripting engine for your evaluation or for your pen test, for your DevSecOps tools. Because this is pen testing is not related to the DevSecOps, I want to say the question related to all of these is how to put Nmap in a Docker container and use it in after deployment script in your CI/CD or in your code build, in your code deploy, where you will use it and how you will use it, how you will use it in GitLab, or how you will put it in Jenkins. You can select, but be prepared for this kind of questions. And then is a question which I really hate. It's basically calculating of the IP scopes and addresses. They will throw against you how many networks, how many hosts of the CIDR block they want from you, and they give you a table and you need to calculate it. I use this question for a specific topic and for the specific evaluation criteria. I am trying to test the interview. Sometimes I say it. I will not answer this question because it's very basic and there is a calculator for that. The medium level questions are perfect for evaluating the interviewer. Ask him back, how he thinks about that, how he approached that. For example, if you speak about Kubernetes, try to test him if he knows enough also. Because maybe they have prepared a list of the questions and they even don't use Kubernetes and you will be the first one who will use it. Based on, or if you will build your interview clever way, you will be able to evaluate the level of maturity of the company itself. And next point is that I'm also selecting specific questions to not answer to test how they behave. If they are arrogant, if they are angry, or if they, making the notes that you didn't answer well. Because I do not want to work in the company where there's the culture of blame. And then you can test it. And I recommend it for brave people who know the question, but select one or two that you will not answer correctly and then evaluate the feedback from them. Watch how they behave, how their face look like, how they basically approach to you. If they are making some notes, you can observe lots of interesting things when you do not answer correctly. And then that is very cool thing that I like to ask also on the interview is transport versus tunnel mode in the IPsec, or what is ISM ISAC-MP policies, or what are IKE policies and how you configure them in the VPN gateway, what is the customer gateway, what is the VPN gateway, how to build hub and spoke VPN connections between cloud and on-premise. So the thing is that you can use basically definition of transport or tunnel mode for saying what part of the packet will be encrypted. If it will be whole packet or if it will be just the payload, you need to know what is encapsulation security payload, what is authentication header, where they are based, and then you can basically win this kind of question. Let's move. We are here, and I will put the links in my video to tell you and to forward you to specific topics to be able to prepare for the interview. So we are now in the next round of the interview, and I hope that this will help us a lot. So we have here the boss. It's a bad snowman. I just want to put their bad off, but I know Disney is having their rights, so not talk about that. So another fireball session, and then we overcome next enemy and define the vulnerability type and describe it. That's like in 60 to 70% of my interviews. Even not for the pen testing. They just give you a big list, like A4, full of the vulnerabilities, and then you have free space to name it. So now your homework. Try to look at these vulnerabilities and name them. Try to put it in the comment and put the number, and if you recognize one of these vulnerabilities, give them the name, because there are just 5 of them, but on the real interview you can get 20 to 60. I was on the interview where they basically give me like 60 different injections and evaluate it. So 60 questions. Check it, think about that, and try to at least recognize the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. I know that this is really hard. Sometimes it's absolutely not related to your job, but that's the way how it basically works today. And you need to be able to evaluate these things. So let's go to another round. Here we are. It looks that you need to find a companion or somebody who will help you during the interviews. If there are more people, they usually play the bad cop, good cop game. And if they play this game, you can be sure that if you play this game, you can select one of these guys and to evaluate who is who to help you, because the opinion matter, and if there will be one person who really don't like you, there will be still another person who likes you, and you need to use this person to help you to get in the company, because it's still a human interaction and not everybody will like you. So know the OS internals is another really great part to know. Know the groups, like in the Windows, you need to know how the ID works. You need to know the group policies. You need to know how users are built. Sometimes they can ask you, how to find the admin ID. All of these things. And I'll prepare for you like a few examples from the Linux world to basically know what they can ask you. And they also catch me one time. Or 2 times I was catched also, because you are tired. For example, it's 8 hours after your work. You go after work for some interview, you are really tired, and they just throw against you this thing. So for example, they ask you, you have here the read write, and then some list of the files. What it means. First symbol means directory, link, or the file type. That's very true. Then you have read write execute, and read write execute for a user, for the group, and for the others. So others are like, they are not in the user or group, that's like rest of the world. And then you have the owner of the file, and basically the list of the file. So learn it, and also learn the numeric representation, like 0, 1, 2, and 4, and their combinations for changing the permissions for the files. Even for the cybersecurity interviews, even if it is not related to your job, everyone is asking for that. Don't ask me why, but they are really interested in this. And next point that they can really try to trick you is that they can ask you for HTTP password or HTTP shadow. So basically they ask, what is the difference between these 2 files, and they will throw one of these against you. In this case, we have HTTP password, where you have the name of the user, its ID, their starting bash, or their home directory, these things. In HTTP shadow, you have the passwords. So that's important to know, that's important to recognize, and be sure that they will throw these questions against you. Problem in this case is, if I'm really tired, I know that's really hard, and you will see in the 3rd level that it can be even worse, trust me. So if there is lots of people against you, like more than 3 or more than, I would say more than 2, it means that you are under the behavioral test. You are under the stress test and more people need to see you. Or they really want everyone involved in the interview and everyone needs to see you. So then everyone's opinion will matter. So very easy, very helpful. Try to recognize different people who are doing the interview. Sometimes they really want to hear specific things. Remember from which departments they are and what's their role. Managers, they want to hear different things than the technicians. And if you will find at least one companion, and you see here we have our own new pad, which means that somebody is helping to you. I am not saying that this person is your pad, but it can help you really, really much to overcome the people who are with you. You feel uncomfortable, there are 5 people and they are pushing on you, you feel the stress. One helper can change the game of the interview. Think about that. Think about that and remember this, please. So this helper can help you overcome the rest of the lich kings that are with you on the interview. And then you will have free pass to the next level. So what is Docker? We spoke about that last time. But what is Docker layer? How it is built? Every row in the Docker build file, Docker file is basically a layer. How you build the Docker image and what is the life cycle. And in the worst case, they can give you like empty Docker build file, and they will ask you to build something, and they will ask you to write something. In the worst case, and then there is another point of the questions which I found like a little bit tricky. Is what is Kubernetes init container? Init container is created before the containers running in the pod. Initial container serves as container which is executed before all the application containers, and this container must run from start to beginning. So the completion of this container is like 100% done. If it is not, you will be not able to deploy, or you shouldn't be able to deploy a whole pod. And there's a tricky question. They can ask you how many init containers there can be. It can be more than one. You remember that and check the documentation of Kubernetes, which can help you a lot. So then what contains the pod security policy and what is the network policy? What are the differences? And they can throw against you a network policy or pod security policy and ask you, what is the setup here? Here's the network policy, and you have egress and ingress rules. What is happening here? What we are blocking, and how we work with the namespaces, or what is here in this pod security policy? What is wrong, and what it will change, even for security. I know that you are maybe not admin, but today the market is changing. It's changing the way how we work as a security experts, and we need to change ourselves. We need to start in ourselves. Then next really good question is, what is pre-commit hook? And what do you recommend as a pre-commit hook or post-commit hook? One of the most common pre-commit hook is a Git leaks. Checking if you are not sharing any sensitive credentials in the Git leaks. So use something like that. That's really for sure that will help. And what is ISTO, how ISTO works, and what is a mutual TLS authentication? In this field, they can ask you what is ALTS from Google, like application layer, transport security. They can ask you what is STS, simple token service from AWS, and how these platforms work for authentication, machine to machine, service to service, user to service, or authentication your role against the services in cloud. Please check it. Check the documentation, STS, ALTS, and mutual TLS communication for the service mesh. Very important, and I really recommend you to check it. Then we have another layer that we need to go through, and here it is. We have these dark monkeys who are like guarding something on this ice bridge, and I hope that we will be able to pass through. Definition of the replica set. I really don't like definitions, but when somebody asks me on the definition, I know that there's something wrong with the company. But interviews are biased. Take it away. Definition of the replica set. You really need to know what is replica set for the databases, for the instances, for the auto-scaling in the load balancers. Definition of the replica set for Kubernetes is that you are trying to maintain specific number of identical pods. That's in the documentation, you can check it, and that's really good to know. Maybe you can go more in the details how to create a replica set. They can also throw against you some command line, remote command line. Today we all are working remote. They can ask, please build a replica set for us. That can be really tough. And what is the sidecar? Where you will use it? And try to give us some cases, also some cases. So think about that. Another homework: what service you will define in the sidecar. And as I said, what is STS and ALTS? I said in the previous. And end-to-end encryption for the load balancers. Tell me how we will do that. I want to have end-to-end encryption, and which load balancer I will use. Elastic load balancer, a network load balancer, or application one. Which one? Or it will be HTTP load balancer in GCP, or it will be DCP proxy, or it will be SSL proxy. All of these considerations you need to take in account and understand the basics. And if there is offloading or bridging, it's not for you, because there is no end-to-end encryption. End-to-end encryption means full encryption, traversal. And another really tricky question is encryption and compression. What will be first? Basically, first compress, then encrypt. Very simple, very easy. Remember that. Try to search why it is that, because there can be really philosophical discussion. If you will first compress and then encrypt, and etc., etc. Do your research, do your homework, and be sure that somebody will ask you for that. And here we are, the last round, and it looks that we have some dark boss there. What is the content of the certificate? That was a mind-blowing question for me, because I didn't think, what's the content. I was asked on the interview, what is the content of the certificate? That means that there's a key. You need to know which key is there, another homework for you. And there are some metadata, issue date, issuer, the certification authority owner, whenever. There are some metadata, and there is like a validity. All of these things are there, and you need to know that. And you need to also know what are the types of the binary certificates or text-based certificate. All of these things. Design, and then the design is also a big part of the medium level questions. What is the, for example, content of these load balancers, and how you will do that, and how you will build, for example, the access private point for specific services, and etc. So design for me the DNS split, design for me the DNS or DDoS protection for internet facing connectivity. I want to provide some telco connectivity to my customers. Then name the services that are helping you in AWS or GCP, Cloud Armor or AWS Shield, and basically how you manage these platforms. What are the service offerings, how you build the resilience, how you will scale up, how you will scale down, all of these things. And then designing the PKI, basically, what is the intermediate certification authority? If you have multiple zones, how you will build it. You will have multiple root certification authorities, or you will have one, and then you will have different intermediate certificate authorities in different zones or different regions. Do you know that? In different subnets. It's related to subnet. Do your homework. Test yourself. Ask yourself if you know these questions. If not, study, check the documentation, and I'm sure that this will help you to pass at least the medium level of the interview questions. Think about my tips, think about what I told you, and I hope that we will beat the boss this time. It looks like some dark corporate boss, and I hope that we will win. And what is happening there? Oh, he disappeared. So it's not the end. It's not the end. And I guarantee you that this was just a medium level. There is another level which is more hardcore. And then there's like nightmare level that, based on your request, I can prepare for you. So thank you for watching my episode today. And it looks that our boss is waiting for us for the third and maybe final level. And I hope also that you enjoyed the time with me and the common video that we have today. So see you next time.